I'm Nikki Tagg and I'm a senior researcher at Antwerp Zoo Society. I started my job working in Kameroen, where we have a project where we do research on wildlife in the tropical forests. Now I'm based here at the zoo. We do research on chimpanzees and gorillas in the forests in Kameroen, and we look specifically at non-protected forests, and that's really the future for great apes, because most of the remaining wild great apes live in these non-protected forests where human activity is quite intense. So where we do our research on chimps and gorillas, the local people are really quite poor and they rely on wild meat for protein and income. And hunting is increasing because it's becoming increasingly commercialised, and also people are encroaching more into previously isolated forest tracts. Hunting in tropical forests is particularly bad for large-bodied species like the gorilla. It's partly because hunters will target them more because their meat is more valuable, but it's also because they have slow reproductive rates. So even low hunting pressures are really detrimental to a species like the gorilla. And our objective is to try to find a way in which gorillas can persist in landscapes that are heavily used by people, which is where most of the remaining wild great apes live nowadays. And gorillas in particular are really important in seed dispersal, so they're big fruit eaters. They can swallow big seeds and they pass through the gorilla whole. And also the gorilla can move long distances in a day throughout its large range, and it deposits the seeds far away from the parent tree, where competition for germination and growth is lower. Also, gorillas like to nest in open canopy areas in the forest, so for example where a tree has fallen, and this means when they wake up in the morning and defecate, then the seeds within the dung have a lot of sunlight, a lot of space, and they're able to grow really quickly. So it's optimal conditions for these seeds. And this is a really important process because it helps the forest to grow and to regenerate and to maintain themselves. Gorillas are classified as endangered, and they are highly threatened by pressures like hunting across their range, and the populations are declining dramatically, so they are at risk of extinction. So gorillas can be considered gardeners of the forest. They're ecological engineers. So if we lose the gorilla, we lose some of its really important seed dispersal services, and that can affect the structure and the function of a forest. And a forest has some really, really important ecological services that it provides for all of us. It's essentially a global sponge for CO2, and it has an important part in the water cycle. So if the forests are not able to provide these ecological services, then it's bad news for all of us.